Hey everybody, I'm Tarl Yarber with Fixated Real Estate, and many of you guys are getting into real estate right now and starting to invest yourselves. Some of you guys are just starting out. Some of you guys have been doing it for years and years and years, and probably way better at it than me. Now, if you're investing in single family real estate, you have a few strategies that you can choose from. You could choose to be a wholesaler where you tie up contracts and sell the properties to investors like myself. You can also choose to flip houses, which is something that I focused on for many, many years. We've literally done over 600 single family fix and flips. Now, you also have the ability to go be a landlord and go put some money down on some single family properties and just rent them out as a landlord. And then last but not least, you also can do the BRRRR strategy: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Now, that's a combination of flipping and buy and hold. There is, of course, other niches like development and building and so forth too, which we're not going to talk about right now. I want to talk to you guys, though, about how we went from flipping hundreds of houses over the years to making a transition to going into the BRRRR strategy and why we did that. And I'm also going to show you exactly how we take single family properties today, right now, and evaluate them on whether or not we should flip them or we should keep them as a BRRRR. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, we made a lot of money flipping houses over the years. And one of my number one regrets that I have is that I didn't keep more of them as rentals. You cannot build wealth flipping houses directly. You can build high income. Now, that high income you make flipping houses has to go somewhere. And for me, since we do real estate, I should have been putting a lot more of that money back into real estate. So the more properties you keep, the more wealthier you can become in the long term. So on this video right now, I want you to ask yourself a question. When I show you this property that we're going to show you, would you flip this property or would you keep it as a BRRRR? Now, I'm going to give you one tip and trick on this right now. Every great BRRRR must first be a great flip, not the other way around. You can have a great flip that is not a good BRRRR, but you cannot have a good BRRRR without it being a great flip in the single family world, in my opinion. So I'm going to show you guys a property that we had to make this hard decision on. And the hard decision on that you have to ask yourself is that would you have preferred to make $50,000 on this house as a single family flip, simple cosmetic house I'm going to show you, or would you have preferred to keep it as a rental at the end and get most of your money back out after you refinance it on the BRRRR strategy and rent it out for cash flow? So which one would you choose? And I hope by the end of this video that you guys can make the right decision for yourself for your investment strategy. On top of that, I'm going to go in depth on some of the tools that we use to evaluate these properties, especially for the BRRRR strategy, some tools that you can get on BiggerPockets.com. And in fact, if you use the promo code TARL20, you can actually get some amazing, amazing benefits on BiggerPockets.com as the pro member, which we'll get into later in this video. Now, if you also wanted to be able to find some tips and tricks on how we do the floor plans, I'm going to show you guys kind of a cool thing that's not that complicated at all to what you can do for your own flips and BRRRRs to be able to work on your floor plans and how much you can get out of your own way on that. So that said, let's find out. Would you rather make the 50K or would you rather make the BRRRR strategies cash flow on this property, which is a few $100 a month? Which one will you do? Let's jump in it now. All right, so here's the beautiful property. Now, how did we find this property? We found it from one of our most favorite ways to find properties, which is through wholesalers. Somebody tied up this property through a distressed seller, and they basically tied it up for, I think, around $130,000, and they sold it to us on an assignment contract for $145,000. Now, a wholesaler keeps the difference, so that's $15,000 assignment fee that they got on it. So that said, we bought it for $145,000 from a wholesaler in as-is condition. So you can see here, the roof's kind of messed up. It's overgrown in the front yard. There's a broken up car on the right side that we actually had to get rid of. There's no garage. It's hard to tell from these pictures, but there's no garage. But this is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, 1,200 square feet with a finished garage space. Now, after we got into this property, you're going to find out, and we're going to show you guys the floor plans here in a second, that we had to make the hard decision. The only hard decision on this property is that do we take the converted garage space and turn it back into a garage, or do we keep it in the existing living space that they had converted into? Now, I'll just go spoiler it right into it, is that we decided to go with the garage, but I'm going to show you why we did that. So let's jump into this property. This property had a messed up roof, as you can see, the messed up car, messed up front yard, right? The backyard doesn't look so good. You can see some damage. You can see that it's not well taken care of. The roof definitely has an issue up here that we had to look into. The siding's not painted. The windows are old. The inside, basic, just, it's lived in. It's just a nice little house that wasn't taken care of very well, but it's nowhere near as bad as some of the houses you guys have seen me do in past videos. Kitchen just dated, no big deal. The flooring actually doesn't look too bad. The bathroom is gutted. This is the only bathroom in the house. You can see there's just a tub there, but there's like nothing else in it. So obviously we've got to fix something there. Bedrooms, just nothing, right? All the finishes are gone. Carpet's gone. So here's one question to ask yourself, actually. When you get into a house, you can see there's no carpet here. When you get into your house where all the carpet's pulled up on, you got to ask yourself why, right? Now there's no major issue on this house why they got pulled, but I always think, like, was there a flood? Was there major damage? Like, what made somebody pull the carpet up before we bought the property? So ask yourself that question too when you see that. Other bedrooms, no big deal. This is part of the outside, or part of another one of the bedrooms too. So nothing going on with it. It is just a simple cosmetic house as far as we're concerned from day one. So what are the numbers? The numbers on it is that it was sold to us at $145,000. Based on the cosmetic rehab on this property, we believed that we only needed to spend $45,000 to fix this house. Now, the biggest cost on this property was the roof. We had to replace the entire roof. It was messed up. The back awning area that you guys saw was not in good condition, so we had to take care of that. All the windows were dated, so we had to remove all the windows and replace those. So those are some big expenses. One of the optional expenses we had to decide on was, do we reconvert the garage back into an actual garage, right, instead of living space? Now, if we did that, and I'm going to show you in a second, we would have to lose a bedroom, because remember, there's 3 bedrooms in this house, and one of the bedrooms is the garage. It needs to be a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. So based on comps, based on comparables, which we did an awesome video for you guys on a Federal Way property of ours that we make $60K on, that hopefully we can point out and point you guys in the right direction, how we run comps on a property. More depth on that later on a different video for you guys to check out. But we had to run comps to see, like, in this neighborhood, is it better to have a garage and less square footage, or is it better to have more square footage with no garage? And we found out that it was actually better for us to have less square footage and have a garage than the other way around. In that case, we had to figure out, where do we put that extra bedroom? Now, the reason why I'm saying all this is that it increases our cost, because we have to move the garage around, add a garage door, all that great stuff. So that's why that $45,000 budget was there, and it wasn't less for such a simple cosmetic house. We had some bigger expenses to be able to do on this property. Now, I'm going to show you guys really quick the floor plan on this property, and I don't want you to be scared about it at all. Sometimes people get really nervous about making floor plans, but I promise you, I made this floor plan myself with my own hand, and it's not complicated at all to do this. Now, this is the as-built, and as-built is what it looks like before you fix it, and then a proposed floor plan is what it should look like after you're done. Anybody can do this, and no matter how great of an artist you are, I believe you can do this too. So let me show you. Looks scary, right? I can promise you right now, I made this myself. Like, I sat there in the property and I scribbled this floor plan just so that way we could show this to a contractor. And I'm not joking. This was actually the floor plan that we later gave to a contractor to bid out on. So you can see, here's the living room area, the kitchen. There's a little wall. There's that little fireplace stove that you guys saw in the pictures. There's this little funky bathroom area with closets. You got bedroom 1, bedroom 2, and then this is the garage. This was the finished garage space, which I wish I showed you guys photos, but we didn't have them. It was just this funky garage space area that had like a light little tiny little bitty bedroom in it with a washer dryer area and so forth, right? Could you make one of those? I think you can. Now, why do we make these little floor plans and sketch them out? Because we take a ton of photos. We have people send us properties all the time. But if you're looking at photos and you're not really there and you can't really see the property as much, or you leave it and you can't remember, it makes it a lot easier for you to quickly review and start planning out a rehab plan if you even have just this basic chicken scratch floor plan. And one of our guys on our team, he does these on the back of Starbucks napkins, and I'm not kidding you, that's what he does to make these floor plans. And it makes a world of difference for us to plan out our rehab. Now, I'm going to blow you away one more time with being able to show you guys the actual proposed floor plan that I literally gave to a contractor to be able to make the bid on for the property. And here it is. And yes, this is the actual floor plan I gave to a contractor to bid for our initial bid. So you can see here in this perfect one here, here's that garage. All I did was just make the same rectangle where the garage was and get rid of all the walls, right? You could do that because the garage was a garage. There's nothing load that was inside here, load bearing, because it was already a garage. We just had to remove the walls that were put up there. In this area here, we were able to find out this were engineered truss, no big deal. So we opened up the wall here, but we needed to remove the bedroom that was in the garage and put it somewhere. Now, if we go back to the floor plan that we originally showed you, that we had for the as-built, there's this big empty space in the living room. Why was there this big empty space in the living room? And here was the trick we found on this house. This is the exact layout that this house had at one point. This house at one point, and we found this out through like looking at the way that some of the construction was on some of the other houses that were nearby. They're all identical. Most of them were 3 bedrooms laid out this way. Bedroom 1, 2, and 3 had a smaller living room with a 1-car garage and the kitchen. So all we did, which is the funny part, all we did was like, well, let's just put it back where it was before somebody hack job remodeled it with this extra bedroom because they wanted a larger living room. So that's it. That's all we did. We just put it back to where it was. So that added the little extra cost to do that, yes, but it made it a much better functional floor plan. And in this particular market, the garage was worth more, but it lowered our square footage. So if you remember, I told you guys this was 3-bedroom, 1-bath, right around 1,200 square feet. With this new floor plan, it's 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 860 square feet. So we lost some square footage there, but it was worth it in the end to do that. Now, we're going to fast forward. This project took us roughly 60 days to get done for the rehab. It went by pretty quick. The first 2 weeks or so, we were planning it out, getting bids from contractors, get the contractor going. They had roughly 45 days to complete it, and they did. They did it all on time because it was a simple cosmetic house that didn't take much effort to do, which was great. We love those projects. Trust me, as a fix and flipper, they are the best projects when everything goes perfectly. And this one, everything went perfectly. It's one of the very few properties that went perfectly in our entire careers. Now, magically, here's what it looks like. It looked like a beautiful house. Here's the garage. You can see the garage looks great. New windows, nice and shiny. Looks a little bit better. We fixed we got rid of that van that was on the side and put a fence there. It was pretty cool. The inside, boom, way different, right? Also, Photoshop helps too. But it does look way, way different. And you can see here, this is that bedroom that we added. We just put a bedroom there. So this used to be a bigger open space from the before photos that you guys saw. Now there's just a bedroom there, and there's that beautiful kitchen that we opened up a little wall to, which was not a real that was just a floating wall for the fireplace that was there. It was not a load-bearing wall, so we just opened it up and made it into a peninsula, which is one of my favorite things to do on houses like this, is put a peninsula here, especially when you don't have a lot of space to work with in the kitchen. So kitchen looks good, bedrooms look better, right? Bathroom is finally put together. All we did was just put finishes back in it. It had all the plumbing there already. It was just missing all the finishes, as you guys saw in the before photos. This is, the new bedroom that we built out, right? And the backyard. We fixed the awning in the back. It looks a little bit cleaner, but we didn't do much work in the backyard at all. So the house is done. The house is completed. Now, what do? Do you flip this house and sell it on the market, or do you keep it as a BRRRR? It is at this point when this project is starting to wrap up that we start to dig into, okay, do we keep it or do we sell it? Now, going back, we always ran the numbers before we buy the property on whether or not it's a good flip or not, right? You definitely have to do that. So we want to make sure it's a good flip first. So let's look at that. Let's evaluate, was it a good flip first based on the numbers that we received when we first looked at doing this deal? And in order to do that, I'm going to use a very basic Excel spreadsheet that I use to very quickly evaluate numbers on a fix and flip. I think there is a way better one on there on the BiggerPockets tools calculator that you guys can go check out on your own. And we're going to dive deep in that on a future video, but we're also going to dive right now in a second on the BRRRR calculator, which I freaking love. Now, I am going to show you though my Excel spreadsheet because it's very quick. It's easy that I could just pump in some numbers to you guys and show you guys what we did here. Now we bought it for technically $145,816. We thought the ARV after repair value when we first bought the property would be $265,000. And our rehab, this is the exact number, our rehab was $45,435 by the time we were done with the project, but we budgeted $45,000. And I mean, this project went perfect. Rehab went done on time and on budget. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Holding time roughly 3 months. If we didn't put any holding costs into it, which means no like finance charges or anything like that, then it is a 23.6% deal. 2.3 sales costs for us because of settlement costs. Plus, also we have an excise tax in the state of Washington for 1.78% that we can't get rid of. You just have to do it. One of the benefits of not paying income tax in Washington. And then, of course, real estate commissions roughly 6%. Now, for me, any deal that's 20+% cash on cash as a project, that's project costs, right? I'm going to buy as a flip. End of story. Buying it. Now, a good BRRRR is also 20+% cash on cash too. So that says to me, before I go buy this property, I go, okay, cool. It's definitely a good flip if we hit these numbers, but it also might be a good BRRRR. So let's find out at the end of the project if it's a good BRRRR. That's all we do. We buy the property as a flip first, and then throughout the project, we start reevaluating budgets, reevaluating timelines, what the rents are, and so forth to see if we're going to keep it as a BRRRR at the end. So step number one, great flip. Yes, I'm going to buy it because I like flipping houses, right? So cool, roger that. Worst case, if it's not a good BRRRR, we're making 45, 50 grand on the property. Woohoo, good stuff, right? If it's a great BRRRR, then we're going to pocket that money in equity and leave it in the property, and we're going to cash flow instead. I'm going to show you that. Now, in reality, though, on this particular property, we actually ended up getting an appraisal if we kept it as a BRRRR, but it actually we found out through comps that was actually worth $280,000 by the time the project was done. We also had some holding costs on the property, right? About $20,000 a year, which is 10% on $200,000 because of construction costs, and that's about $1,600 a month in interest fees, right? So in reality, right, breaking it down, if we sold the property for $280,000, which is actually what the property was worth by the time we were done with it, because the market went up, plus also we did a really good job on the finishes. So $280,000 with the same rehab, our net profit after holding costs, right, of $1,600 a month for finance charges would be $55,000 as net profit. So would you sell this small little house that takes you 90 days or less to be able to do and make 55 grand? Most house flippers, the answer is heck yes, we would love to do that. And that's been my answer for many, many years. But let's go to the next stage. Let's reevaluate this property one more time and see if it's a great BRRRR, and would you keep it or would you have sold it? Now, in order to evaluate a fix and flip, you really only need a couple of numbers. You need to know your ARV, after repair value, and you need to know your rehab number. Those are two numbers that are the most important numbers to evaluate a fix and flip. Now, the purchase number is very, very important because what are you going to buy it for? But if you're giving offers on a property, then what's your ARV and what's your rehab number? And that's going to help you figure out what you should buy it for. Now, if a property is being brought to you, right, by a wholesaler, then you should, or a realtor, you should know what the purchase price is roughly because they're kind of telling you what that is. So you need that third number. So those are the three numbers you really need to be able to evaluate a property for a fix and flip. That's your ARV, after repair value. What's it worth when it's done fixed up? What's your rehab budget, right? And if you're going to hit it or not. And then what's your purchase price? And then the rest of it, you can add on finance charges and so forth. But you have to have those three numbers at one point to know what your profitability is and if it's a good flip or not. If it's a BRRRR, you still need those three things: ARV, rehab number, and also your purchase price. But you need a couple more numbers too to do a good BRRRR calculator analysis. You need to know, what can it rent for? What are the rental comps if this property is completely fixed up? And that's the key. It's completely fixed up like a fix and flip would be. That's one of the key things because you'll get a higher rent for that versus an as-is low-grade finished property in most markets, right? So what's the rental comp? What is the appraised value, which might be different than the ARV, right? Should be the same, but what's the appraised value? So you can find out what your loan to value will be when you go to refinance a property. So what's your lender's max LTV, loan to value, that they will give you on the appraised value of the property? Very, very important to know, because if you rehab a property and fix it up and get a higher value, but your lender's only going to give you 60% of the appraised value, that is a big difference between what you get as a flip, and you might have to leave a lot of money in there. But if your lender gives you, say, 75% loan to value, which most lenders will do that are out there, then you get a lot more of the equity out of the deal and probably get most of your rehab dollars back for rehabbing the property, and make it what we love, which is an infinite return BRRRR. And that's a BRRRR that you have no money into after you refinance the property and rent it out. So what is your rental rates that you can get? What LTV can you get on your loan, right? And then, of course, what's going to be your interest rate for principal, taxes, insurance for your payments, so you can find out what your cash flow is, right? Now, the cash flow number is the thing to figure out at the end of the day, and how much money do you have to have left in the property. I don't have a spreadsheet that tells me that, right? I haven't been able to figure out how to make a spreadsheet for that. And because of that, my favorite tool to use to evaluate BRRRR strategy properties is actually the BiggerPockets BRRRR calculator, which we mentioned earlier. If you use the discount code TARL20 on BP, you can become a pro member and use this calculator as many times as you want. If you're not a pro member, you can only use it maybe 5-6 times, something like that, for free, until eventually you got to become a pro member. I'm a pro member of BP specifically for this calculator. Trust me, I love it. I use it all the time, and it's something that we use in our business. So let me show you. This is a PDF version that you could print out very quickly of this exact property for what we use for this exact property to evaluate the BRRRR strategy on it. Now, I'm going to go into more depth, though, on the actual web version of it so that you guys can see that that PDF version that we printed out, which I love, you can actually hand that to lenders. You can hand that to other prospective investors, joint venture partners, and so forth. And it looks fancy, clean, beautiful. It's something you can use every single day in your business if you use it appropriately. It's one way to raise capital even. All right, so first, in order to get this calculator, you got to go to BiggerPockets.com. It's very simple. You just go to Tools, and you go to the BRRRR calculator. Now, there's other tools there you have, the rental property, fix and flip, BRRRR, rehab estimator. There's a bunch of different calculators you can use on BiggerPockets for free for a certain amount of times before you got to become a pro member. But if you just go straight to the BRRRR calculator, it's pretty straightforward. It clicks over, and you can start a new report. You can watch a video how the BRRRR calculator actually works. Brandon Turner himself shows you how it works. You can also view previous reports that you've done for any of the calculators you've used on BiggerPockets. It's awesome. It's amazing. So if we started a new report, there's some basic information that you guys would need to be able to fill it out. Report title, property information. There's so many other details. And we're going to jump into the actual report that we created for this property. All right, so here's the actual web version of the calculator for this particular property here. This is the address. Look it up. You can tell that what we actually ended up doing with it. So this particular property here with the BRRRR calculator, we already inputted these details. And to give you a few details here, we found out that a rental that we can actually rent this property for at that time was $1,550 a month. What's crazy is Zillow right now says it would rent out for $2,000 a month, if you can believe that. But $1,550 a month is more realistic number for this market for where it was. And if we had $45,000 repairs and we bought it for $145,000, which we right here for $145,000 purchase price, and we thought that the ARV or the appraised value would be $280, our total projected cost would be $191. If we did a 10% down hard money loan on this particular property, then you would need $23,000 cash to be able to buy the property as a down payment. And then you get the rest of the money in rehab costs. A lot of hard money lenders will do that for you. There's plenty that will also do 20% down as well as finance 100% of the rehab costs. And this particular example I showed you in the report is that if you had 100% rehab and 100% purchase covered by the hard money lender, if you put 10% down of the entire project, then that would be roughly $23,420, including your points and fees. That's at a 10% interest rate from a hard money lender for the construction phase, and your monthly interest would be $1,425 a month, and you'd have some points on that as well because lenders charge points. Now, a point is just 1% fee of whatever you borrow. Now, wrapping it all up, when we go to refinance, we believe that the property would be worth $280, right, when we go to refi. So therefore, we get a 75% loan to value on the property. So that's a $192,000 loan, right? So with fees, 30-year fixed, 4.5% interest rate, the principal and interest on the loan would be $975, but we would still need to leave in $4,920 into the deal, right, in order to refinance the property. What does that sum up for you guys at the end of the day? That sums up that with taxes, insurance, principal, and interest, there's monthly expenses on the property of $1,258, and our cash flow of renting at $1,550 a month would equate to $291 a month in cash flow, right? Or annualized, that's like what, $3,000 or $3,600 a year, right? Now, first off, you got to ask yourself, as somebody that flips a house, is that do you make 55 grand selling this thing right now, right? Or 55K, right? Or do you make $300 a month? Me, for many years, it was sell it, flip it. That's what I want to do, right? The new self, if you don't need that 55K right now, because I'll tell you what, if you sell that property and you make 55K, as most house flippers, you're going to pay income tax on that. Versus if you kept it as a rental, right, you're getting capital gains taxed on it later. So it's something kind of cool, right? So you check into it with your accountant. But do you need that money right now? So do you flip it? Yes or no? That's the first question. If you don't need the money, maybe you should keep it as a rental and build more equity into the deal and more cash flow, right? So your cash on cash return with the money, this basically what this means is this $4,900 we had to leave into the deal is netting us $300 a month cash flow, which equates to 71% return on investment on the money you invested into the deal, right? Where can you get a 71% ROI? I have no idea. You can do it here, right? So there's some other cool things a report can do for you, but the one that I like the most is it shows that, hey, at the end of the property, when I'm done with the rehab, I have $109,000 of equity into the deal, right? Before selling costs. Remember, you got to sell it, but that's equity, right? and that it's almost a 1% rule. But this is the cool part. In 1 year from buying the property, if I sold it after 1 year, right, then it shows you that, okay, we can make almost 75K if the profit, if these numbers are right. If we sold it after 2 years with a 3% increase in property value, then you can make almost 90K. And it continues to go on and on and on. But it's also showing you the annual cash flow of what you'd be making annual if you're increasing rent, plus also your expenses are going up and so forth too, right? So it gives you a projection to say, okay, well, I could have sold the property now and made like day one and made 55K, cool, right? Or what if I waited 5 years from now? I might be able to make 140,000 on this thing if the market continues to go up. Plus, I'm also getting principal buy down and somebody else is paying my rent for me, right? So if you had a tool like this with a BRRRR calculator, you could make a decision on your own a lot faster to go like, hey, do I flip this house or do I BRRRR it? This is what we do. So in any project that we have, we would use our flip calculator first to quickly evaluate whether we should buy it. Once the rehab's on track and everything is good and we're liking it, we reevaluate again based on budget and what we think the property would be to see, okay, if we flipped it, we'd make this much, but let's see what the BRRRR calculator says, and will we get most of our money back out, right, on the deal so we can keep it as a rental and a BRRRR and have very little money into it, or should we end up flipping the house after all? Now, what would you do on this house? Make the 55K today, or potentially make the 140K later down the line if you just wait a little while longer, right? The tax benefits are a big factor too. Talk to your accountant. What did we decide? Well, if you look up the property address, you'll see that we decided to sell the property. At the moment that we had this property, at the time, it was actually back in 2018. Zillow actually has this thing valued at $330,000 right now, which makes me think, man, I should have kept it, right? But we ended up selling it for $285,000 with some seller concessions, which equated to about $280,000 at the end of the day. So we sold it for $280,000. We made our $55,000 on it when we sold it. But if I didn't sell it, I sold this property a couple years ago. If I didn't sell it, it'd actually probably be renting out for almost $1,800 a month right now, which is insane. And it would be worth, just from what Zillow says, it would be worth around $330,000 as of right now, today, 2 years later. So maybe I made a mistake selling it. Maybe you might be making a mistake selling your properties right now. Maybe you should be holding on to them as the market goes up. Maybe not. Maybe you should flip them. I still flip houses. I like flipping houses. I like the money we make on them. But now I started keeping them, and I started keeping a lot more because of reevaluating properties like this and realizing that the long-term hold is the better value for the wealth that you can build in your business and for your life. So I'm Tarl Yarber. You can follow me on Instagram at Tarl Yarber. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe to BiggerPockets and the YouTube channel here. We have more videos like this coming. If you want more videos like this from YouTube, please let us know. Let BiggerPockets know that you want more of these, and we will continue making them for you to help you evaluate your business and your deals so that you can buy more and potentially, hopefully, make more profit in the investing career that you have right now. I'll see you guys on our next video. Make sure you follow us, but I'm done.